What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode here at the Side Guys Football Forum. I'm one of your co-hosts over the side, joined as always by my good friend, my good buddy, the other half of the Side Guys to the Tad side. And Tad, I think this is probably the final chapter of our draft season coverage.
Wait,
Like,
what?
I think we're sort of transitioning
but draft.
into
But draft.
fantasy football stuff. So, but yeah, I think we should have fun with this episode because I think this is something that some people discuss, but they don't really go deep into because it's still a little bit down the road as far as like what's actually going to happen. So us doing this episode, sort of doing something outside the norm of what you see on most major publications.
And that thing is?
I was setting it up for you to lay out what we were doing, but clearly you don't want to take that ball.
No, I will gladly take. No. You back off my territory. No, you back off. You back off.
Exactly
you
what
shut
I'll
up.
do then.
No, back off. Who gives a shit about the Cavaliers? They suck. My friend, it is never too early. It is never too far down the road. How dare you, sir? It is always time to discuss 20. Oh.
Wow. Yeah.
Wow.
This is why you don't get the ball.
I got so excited. I wasn't expecting the pass, and then you gave it to me. The 2025 NFL draft, baby, is already upon us. It's what, like a year away? Almost a little less than a year away?
A little less than a year away.
It's never too early to discuss it.
At least 11 months away. Yeah. It's still
time. We have quarterback questions. We have wide receiver questions. We have all. Here's my favorite part about the 2025 NFL draft, and we will get into this, is that there is no consensus first overall pick. Those are the best drafts. Those are the most fun drafts. This is not a Caleb Williams where we're kind of like, what are the Bears going to do with Caleb Williams? No, there's none of that. We're going to have debates. We're going to have arguments. I am sure Al Rowe's going to randomly come on here at some point, and we are going to scream at each other. I cannot wait for the 2025 NFL draft. What do you mean it's too far down the road?
There's still a lot of time because by the time we get closer, once the actual college football season starts, we may get a little bit more clarity as far as some guys who may separate themselves as possibly being that number one overall pick. But Tad, you eventually laid it out perfectly for today's episode. We are going to be discussing the 2025 NFL draft, just give a quick preview as far as what we can expect with the upcoming college football season, and obviously what will lead to possible, what we'll see in the first round, maybe what we'll see from certain position groups, things along those lines. But of course, we definitely need to give a shout out to our great sponsors at Underdog Fantasy, because even though they weren't really great, they weren't participants in the NFL draft when it comes to their prop bet picks and just picks in general, they were still a great resource when it came to, the NFL playoffs. Just NFL, just in general. You got the NBA playoffs, you got the NHL playoffs, you got the MLB season, you got NHL, you got lacrosse, you got cricket, you got so many other things that you can be betting with Underdog Fantasy that even if you miss out on the draft, you can, still get your betting fix with Underdog Fantasy, because they're just such a great tool and such a great platform to use when it comes to just getting into the betting action. All you have to do is make anywhere between 2 and 5 different prop bet picks across whichever sports you're comfortable with and whatever picks you're comfortable with. And the more picks you make, the more potential money you can win. So guys, they gave us a promo code that we want to share with you so you can get into the action. Use that promo code that you see on your screen, DESAI, DESAI, and you can double up on your initial deposit of $10 or more up to $500 using that promo code. So hypothetically, if you were to put in that max $500, if you were to use your promo code that we have on the screen there, DESAI, DESAI, you could double up on your initial deposit, only the first one, and they will match that dollar for dollar. You can bet with up to $1,000 on their betting platform. So guys, get into the action. There's a lot of things to be betting on right now. It's a ton of fun. Very easy to navigate website, as well as their apps on both Apple and Android devices. It's just a lot of fun. So get into the action. Use that promo code. Once again, that promo code is DESAI, DESAI. Double up our initial deposit of $10 or more up to $500, courtesy of our good friends at Underdog Fantasy. So, yeah, like you said, Tad, it's sort of tough. Like, if Underdog Fantasy were to sort of, put some odds out there for the NFL draft, I think this is the one that would fluctuate the most as we get closer to the NFL draft. We're still 11 months away and a lot could change at that time, but looking at the sort of landscape as far as where the prospects are sort of going and just sort of what we can anticipate, it's tough to envision a quarterback going first overall in 2025. But I mean, yeah, we have the question on the screen here. What are your thoughts? Like, I mean, just looking at this quarterback class, like, I mean, do you think we'll see a quarterback go number 1 overall again? And if you remember, Ted, in the past 10 years, we've only had 2 drafts where we've not had a quarterback go number 1 overall.
Wait. All right. So past 10 years, Myles Garrett was 1.
Yep.
Hold on. 10 years. Oh, you might get me here. Was Eric Fisher? Was that 10 years ago?
No, that was a little longer.
Oh, so was it Eric Fisher?
The only one happened.
TreVeyon Walker.
Yeah, there you go.
There we go. God, was stupid.
Only a couple years ago. It was only a couple years ago.
How did the Jaguars screw up the first overall pick that badly, and yet they're still good?
But it doesn't matter, Tad, because I mean, TreVeyon Walker, but also Aiden Hutchinson would have been in play there too. So regardless, it still would not have been a quarterback.
No, don't get me wrong. I'm very happy they took TreVeyon Walker, but I'm just like, usually when you screw a first overall pick, it screws up your franchise for the next like 5 years, and somehow they're like, hey, yeah, whatever.
It's true. It's true. So, I mean, we'll see exactly how it plays out. But just, yeah, what are your thoughts about the quarterback position this upcoming draft? And do you think we'll sort of see that trend continue where it's like we'll make it, out of the last 11 years, only 2 picks were taken that were not quarterbacks at first overall?
I think we're kind of headed towards a NFL until things change where the quarterback's significance is, brought down.
That will never happen.
I agree.
That will never happen.
100% agree with that statement. But I think until if that ever happens at all, then yeah, these guys are going to keep getting overvalued. And so, long story short, will a quarterback go first overall in 2025? My answer is yes. Should he? No. There's no quarterback in this year's class that screams first overall pick to me. But I think that if you want my 2 predictions, I think that one of 2 teams is going to get the first overall pick next year. It's either going to be Denver, which means that the Bo Nix project failed miserably, which means he's the next Josh Rosen, which is like, all right, we gave him a year with a terrible team. Well, and then move on, because I really never felt like Bo Nix was their guy to begin with. It was kind of like it has all the same traits as the Josh Rosen situation, or it's going to be Carolina where, and yes, I know they've invested so much in like, hey, Bryce Young is our dude, but cut bait. And it's kind of the Justin Fields situation, but with a worse version of Justin Fields. So I think it's either going to be Carolina or Denver. And if it's either one of those teams, I cannot see them going anywhere else but quarterback, barring a crazy veteran situation. So yes, I think it will be QB first overall in 2025.
Interesting. I think for me, like, I mean, it's still very early, like we've discussed already. So, I mean, there's a very good shot that we could see a quarterback sort of rise up the ranks and become that number 1 overall pick or be in play. And yeah, 100% like you laid out, whoever lands at number 1 overall pick greatly affects what the pick is going to be. I think that's for sure. But I think just like we talked about, the quarterback's never going to be devalued in this league. I mean, that's just the way that the league has shifted now.
Consistently overvalued. If anything, consistently overvalued.
Yeah, so you look at the premium, the position. So there's a very good shot that we'll still see a quarterback taking number 1 overall. Though, like you said, that probably wouldn't be the smartest call. Like we've talked about it before, where Blaine Gabbert shot up boards because of the premium of the position. Blake Bortles went number 3 overall because he was at the premium of the position at quarterback, and they probably should not have been at those various drafts.
I would even argue, like going even more recent, JJ McCarthy should not have been a first rounder.
No, I think
you and I both agreed on that. It's like our evaluation is like he's a perfect second round QB. I think, and how about this for a throwback? I think if you transport Jimmy Clausen in the 2021, 2022 NFL drafts, Jimmy Clausen probably would have been a top 15 pick. Just because it was like, he's good enough. Fuck it. Let's just throw him in there. And it's just like.
It's possible. It's very possible for sure. So you have to take that into consideration. So yeah, it's still a little bit early as far as confirming that it's like a quarterback will not go number 1 overall, but I'm sort of leaning more towards that boat because it's like you look at some of the other positions out there. You look at edge rusher. There's the guy out of Tennessee, James Pearce, where just like, I've seen a little bit of his tape, and it's like I could see why sort of people are laying out the fact that he could be another, we already laid out Myles Garrett, Trayvon Walker were the only two other number one overall picks in the past decade that were taken number one overall. So I can see James Pearce falling into that category of just like, this guy is such a dominant pass rusher. We'll see what 2025 holds for him. The upcoming college football season holds for him as far as like whether he could sort of maintain that stock. But I could see him happening. I'm hearing a lot of things. I didn't watch his tape, but just hear a lot of things about Kelvin Banks Jr., the tackle out of Texas. There's a lot of people that are raising his stock as far as like whether he could possibly be in play for number one overall. But just like you laid it out, it's just I don't see a lot of solid prospects in this year's quarterback class that's incoming. I mean, there's no Trevor Lawrence, there's no Caleb Williams, there's no Andrew Luck, there's no like clear cut, like this is the guy that everybody's going to be clamoring for, that even if you already have a quarterback, like you laid out with, Bryce Young with the Panthers or, something like that, where it's like you have a guy, but it's like you kind of don't want to miss out on this prospect. Same thing what the Bears did, where they moved up
they
to draft
from a very promising prospect because Justin Fields did not look bad. Me and good friend of the show Matt were having this conversation yesterday where it was like the whole talk at Pittsburgh because I don't know if you saw the breaking news. I'm so mad this is breaking news. Where shocker, are you ready? Or are you sitting down?
Yeah, I am sitting down.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Because this may blow you away. Caleb Williams is officially the starter in Chicago.
Yeah, I did see that.
Shocking.
Like, really?
Shocking.
Was that really just, going to come out of left field for somebody?
And anyway, yeah, exactly. It was, but that led to the point of me saying like, wow, I'm shocked there's only one big, QB battle going on in the NFL. And Matt goes, who? And I was like, Pittsburgh. And Matt said the very good point of like, it's kind of crazy that Russ is kind of seen as the winner of that battle so far when Justin Fields is inarguably better. And meaning all this to say is, the Chicago had a very good, promising young player in Justin Fields, but they had the better option in Caleb Williams. And I don't think that decision is really going to be there for any team this year.
Yeah, no, I agree. So I think you look at that, and like I said, I just like some of the other players at other position groups a little bit more. That's just like, I think we could have another year where just a quarterback will not go number one overall.
Sorry. I'm just getting breaking news. You ready for this?
What is it?
It's official. Breaking news. Just broke on Twitter. You sure? Okay. Joe Burrow is the starter in Cincinnati.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy, but you look at some of the names that are coming in for the 2025 NFL draft. You got Carson Beck out of Georgia. You got Shedeur Sanders out of Colorado. You got Quinn Ewers for the University of Texas. It's just like
sucks.
They have a lot of good things, but there's also a lot of negatives that you see as well. So unless they absolutely clean up everything this upcoming year, that's the thing that worries me about them going number one overall. But I think let's get to the next question, Tad, that we have on tap here. Just like, talk about this quarterback class. I don't think it's as strong as this previous year. A lot of people said this previous year was not all that great either. So it's just like, how many quarterbacks do you think go in the first round overall? Because we had 6 go this past draft in 2024. A lot of people were pegging at least 5, but then obviously we had that, curveball of Mykel Penix Jr. going number 8 overall. Nobody expected that one. A lot of people sort of pegged him that he could be a potential first round pick, but going in the top 10, nobody anticipated that. So that's obviously how we had Bo Nix go then to the Broncos there a little bit later. Obviously, J.J. McCarthy at number 10 overall with the Vikings. So, I mean, just like we had it play out that way. So we had 6 overall in the first round, but I'm not looking at that high of a number in 2025, but you steer me in a different direction if you feel otherwise.
Nah, I'd be pretty surprised if it was 6. Well, let's get the 2 obvious ones out of the way. Carson Beck and Shedeur Sanders, I feel, are the 2 locks. Like, barring any injury. I mean, do you disagree? I feel like those 2 are locks to go at least top 10.
For me, I have them both as locks, but I also have a third as a lock for the first round at least.
Well, I'm gonna get to him because
that's fair. That's fair.
I really don't like Ewers, and I promise it's not TCU bias play role, but we'll get to him. So for me, I'm gonna say 4. I think you're gonna have Quinn Ewers. Do you see what you're doing in me? You're inceptioning me here, but I think you're gonna get Shedeur Sanders, Carson Beck. Those 2 are gonna be locks for top 10. I think you're gonna see. And this is a guy I'm seeing mocked a lot in the top in the top 15 in some mock drafts, but I still need to see a lot from him. But given his coach, and I'll get into this a little bit, Jalen Milroe, I think will eventually play himself into that role. I think he'll be this year's Mykel Penix. We all knew he was good, and now we kind of saw like, oh, damn, you're that good. So I think Jalen Milroe will kind of solidify himself into that first round role. And how about this for a hot take? I don't think Ewers is going to be the fourth quarterback in the first round. I think it'll be Riley Leonard.
Okay.
The former Duke quarterback who transferred to Notre Dame. He was catching a lot of momentum, a lot of draft talk heading into, late last season until I want to say, because I remember being home with my dad while watching it. I want to say it was like October-ish, maybe, I don't know, it doesn't matter. But bottom line is he broke his leg while at Duke, and he was out for the rest of the season. But before that, he was really people forget, and this goes to show how short draft memory can be. He was really catching some first round momentum talk, broke his leg, and then the Duke coach, let me look up his name, Mike Elko.
Right.
That's right, Mike Elko. Mike Elko, he's the new A&M coach. So he left Duke, and then Riley Leonard went to Notre Dame. So here's why I'm a big believer in Riley Leonard playing himself into this first round conversation. Let's not forget, this is exactly where Sam Hartman was at this time last year. Difference is Riley Leonard is actually good. And so I really think that Riley Leonard could be like the big riser of this year's draft in terms of quarterback. So, but regardless if it's Riley Leonard or Quinn Ewers or whoever else, I do think it will be 4 quarterbacks. I think it will be hard to find any draft where less than 3 go. So I have 3 locks in Milroe. Was that a sneeze or was that a scoff?
It was just a sniff.
Okay, there we go. I'm just making sure. I don't know. But I have Milroe, Sanders, and Beck as locks for the first round. And then you got to account for like a 4th wild card playing himself right in there.
No, I think it's very likely, like I said, that we'll see 3 for sure. Like I said, for me, I think because he goes to a big school, he's getting a lot of attention there. Like I said, we talked about the preview of the position. I think Ewers is going to find himself in the first round. Maybe he doesn't have the skill level for that, but I could see that very much happening. Beck and Sanders, I could very much 100% see that happening. Like I said, top 10, I see that very likely with both of those guys for sure. Outside of that, I think it's just an absolute, toss-up as far as just who's going to have a good season that's going to insert themselves into the conversation about being a first-round quarterback. I think, Jalen Milroe, I think he's definitely one of those guys, landing at Alabama, still being at Alabama, and then now being coached by Kalen DeBoer. That's going to affect his game for this upcoming season. Grayson McCall transferring from Coastal Carolina to North Carolina State. That's going to affect things and maybe make him a little bit more of a viable target. Cam Ward transferring to Miami from Washington State. So, that should be an interesting play as well. So, got a lot of transfers. Remember we did a transfer episode at 10. We talked about all these guys transferring and who landed in good situations, who landed in bad situations. And so, quarterback landscape for this upcoming season, because of all the transfers, I think that's going to be a very interesting situation to see whether that helped their stock as far as it comes to 2025 NFL draft, or whether it kept it the same or hurt it a little, maybe. So that's going to be a big factor for sure this upcoming season.
So Ward's an interesting one because I've seen him from the 6th round in some people's mocks to the 1st round in other people's. And yes, it is going to largely depend on how Miami utilizes him, because Miami was competitive last year. They were if you watch Miami football last year, they were just missing a good quarterback. Ward also has that age thing, so I think that may play against him. Now, granted, I said the exact same thing about Mykel Penix Jr., and he just went in the top 10, so who the hell knows?
A lot of these players have the age thing because of the whole COVID year. They had that extra year of eligibility, so I think for the next couple of seasons, we'll see that for sure with prospects about the age thing.
So Ward is definitely going to be interesting. It's also going to be Mario Cristobal, the head coach of Miami. I mean, this is a make or break year for him. I think that if he does not at least make a New Year's Six Bowl, the hot seat's going to start warming up there. So can Cameron Ward get it done for him? It's going to be interesting to watch. But let's get into the Ewers talk, because I hate this guy. Okay. I hate him. Not as a player, as a prospect. He is terrible. Okay. I said this with A.D. Mitchell, even before the Colts drafted him, before people were like, oh, it's being Colts homer. I was shocked when I looked up his stats, which was something like 55 receptions for 850 yards or something. I'm like, really? They were that low? And I looked, I'm like, well, no shit, they were that low. You're being underthrown on every other play. And it was funny. So, and I'll tell you the game I realized, I'm like, oh no, yours is terrible. I was watching the Texas versus Rice game. Rice game. A like cupcake. Texas probably paid Rice to play that game. And A.D. Mitchell kept like having to do that thing where like he's running around, but then you got like, kind of go back and drag out for the catch type thing. I was like, all right, Ewers had to be hurt. Like this is clearly their backup. Something happened because I forgot he changed numbers. He used to be number 11 and now he's number 3. And so I'm like, all right, whoever this number 3 guy is, whatever. No, that was Ewers. And he was underthrowing his best receiver. That's right. Over Xavier Worthy. Go Colts. Like he just kept underthrowing him and his accuracy is terrible. So actually, I know this is a different question, is every year there's a quarterback or a prospect that we're all like, oh, this guy's going first round. And he very quickly drops out of that, come to next December when we're all like, okay, the season's done. Let's do another mock draft. Probably next time the show's going to do a mock draft. I think that Ewers is going to be that guy that everyone's like, oh no, he's a first rounder. He's a first rounder. I think he's going to drop out because we're all going to see without that amazing wide receiver talent around him, he's not that good. I think it was the receivers that made Ewers. It was not Ewers that made those receivers.
Interesting. So yeah, we'll see how it all plays out for sure. Because yeah, this 2025 season, this upcoming college football season will be a big factor as far as how many quarterbacks will be taken in the first round. Because yeah, it's tough to call.
Did you ever give your official number, by the way? What's your official number?
My official number is probably going to be 4. I think
4. So okay, so we both agree on 4. So like three locks and then like the wild card.
Yeah, I think that's probably what's going to be. I wouldn't be surprised if we say 5 because I mean that's just the way the league is sort of going.
It's gonna be tough. I feel like there's a guy that's gonna come out of nowhere, and we're just
gonna
be like, ah, shit, that 100%. Guy.
There's going to be
McCall's a great pick for that.
McCall, yeah, he's got potential there. So I mean, yeah, there's definitely going to be one guy that's just out of nowhere, just going to have a fantastic season and is going to insert himself into that conversation of being a first round quarterback. So. All right, Tad, we're sort of talking about the quarterback class is just not being all that strong this upcoming year. Like, I mean, let's discuss strongest and weakest position groups for this 2025 NFL draft. So, I mean, give me your pick for both of those positions as far as like, what do you think is the strongest this year, this upcoming year? And what do you think is the weakest this upcoming year?
You want weakest or strongest first?
Your decision.
This is not a tennis match. Don't hit it back to me.
I always will.
All right, Serena, let me do this. All right, let's start with strongest because I need to pull through this. There are a lot of names that I still need pronunciations on, so bear with me here. But the strongest, in my opinion, it's a pretty easy pick, and I'm cheating a little here. It's D-line and edge rush. Like just that's D-line with D tackle and D defensive end plus edge. I know I'm kind of grouping 3 positions into one, but like. The pass rush talent in general in this draft is unfreaking believable. And a lot of it, too, is the versatility of a lot of these guys. And that's kind of why I was struggling with, like, the edge rushers. And I'm like, no, he's more of a defensive end. And I was like, oh, like this one guy I really love, he's defensive tackle, but he could also play defensive end. It's just like these guys can play anywhere. Like, this is the evolution we're slowly seeing within the defense, but the edge rusher talent, the pass rushing talent in this year's class is unbelievable. You already mentioned him, James Pearce out of Tennessee. I think if you ask me, Tab, all right, fine. You think quarterbacks go 1, but I twisted your arm and made you say non-QB who's going first overall. James Pearce is my top take right now. That is my top guy. He is the Jadeveon Clowney type where it's like, okay, we don't really have a quarterback right now, but fuck it, this guy's too good. We'll figure it out later. And they did until, massage tables start breaking out. But you look at James Pearce is obviously the best one. This guy I absolutely love is Nick Scortan. I think I'm saying that right. Former Purdue pass rusher. He just this year transferred to A&M. He can play both defensive tackle and defensive end. He is a better Jonathan Allen, in my opinion. That's my best thing, where you can kind of plug him anywhere. And it's just like, fuck it. Like, he can get the job done. Maybe he's a little lesser at defensive tackle. I think he's more suited for a defensive end at the next level, but he's amazing regardless. He is actually my upset pick. If you look at mocks, they have him anywhere from top 10 to the 20s. I think that if A&M doesn't royally screw it up, which is granted a massive if because they've been royally screwing it up for about 20 years now, he could cement himself as a top 7 pick with a great year this year. So Scorton, I absolutely love him. You look at Ohio State has 2 guys because of fucking course, and Jack Sawyer's amazing, and Jalen. I'm gonna try this. Tui Molao.
Sure. I haven't looked at these names yet, so
I'm hoping that's right. And now you may notice I said Jaden Tui Molao. I'm so sorry. I'm trying my best here because actually a lot of people have him as JT Molao, but it's actually that is the Tui is the part where that's why it's JT because it's Jalen Tui Molao. So you know what? I'm gonna respect it because there's a great interview where he's like, my mom gets really mad when people call me JT. So Mrs. Molao, I'm hoping I'm doing it right, but it's Jalen Molao. This is going to be so bad if I'm doing this wrong.
Seriously.
It's going to be so bad. But no, my favorite part about him is he was a very hype prospect going into Ohio State. He had 6 sacks his freshman year, which it's his freshman year. So it's like, all right, 6 sacks. I'll take that from a freshman. And everyone was hyping him up, and he was going to be like this big guy. And they're like, he's a bit of a disappointment. I didn't watch too much of Ohio State, so it's like, okay, whatever. I looked it up. His disappointment is he repeated with 6 sacks. Motherfucker, if that's a disappointment, I will take that disappointment all the way to the bank. So like Jack Sawyer and Jalen Molao. I'm so sorry, man. I'm going to nail it by draft time, I promise. So you got those 2 Ohio State guys. You got Mykel Williams in Georgia who, same deal. Suffered some reputation issues because he was so hyped coming into college, but he's good, not great. So I think he'll be really good. And then Michigan's Mason Graham is really good defensive tackle. Like all this to say the pass rush talent. I honestly think that there's a good chance we could see a run on defensive players. Like we saw a run on offensive players this last year.
It could happen because outside of the edge rushing group, I think just once again, it's going to be a defensive heavy draft again, because it's like the defensive line / edge rusher group is really strong. The corners are really strong. Again, you're talking about Ohio State, but Denzel Burke, a lot of people were surprised he didn't declare last season. So him still coming back to Ohio State, like he's going to be a top pick. Yeah. So I don't doubt that defense will sort of take priority again this upcoming draft, but here's the position that we're sort of knocking this 2024 draft class, but I'm not going to say it's the strongest draft class, but it's definitely one that takes a step up from the 2024 draft class. That's the running back group, Ted. There's a lot of great names in this year's running back group. I mean, we talked about this guy transferring from Ole Miss to Ohio State. We're a little bit puzzling at the time, but I think regardless, he's got the talent that he can enter himself into that conversation of being the first running back off the board, possibly even being a first-round running back. I think I got some potential gems in this year's draft class for 2025 that could see themselves being drafted in the first round. That's Quinshon Judkins, the transfer out of Ole Miss, like I mentioned. Big, powerful running back. I think he's got skills that he showcased to be a sort of top running back and possibly be a first-round running back. His running mate now, TreVeyon Henderson at Ohio State. He sort of gets that sort of like, lightning effect to Quinshon Judkins' thunder approach. So it's like they got that, power and speed sort of option there with both those guys. And they both got a lot of skills. Ollie Gordon II out of Oklahoma State. He's got a lot of...
He's so good. Take it from me. That dude's good. He's already at this... Sorry to interrupt. But at this point... There we go. But no, Ollie Gordon, I hate him because he is so damn good. He is my favorite draft sleeper as my big board sits now. Favorite draft sleeper by a mile.
Yeah, I mean, he's just a very creative runner. He just finds a way to get into the open field. Like, I mean, he's a very dynamic running back that you want in your backfield. Bunch of other names that, I mean, we still have time as far as scouting, but I've seen a lot of this guy because he has a State fan, obviously. Ashton Jeanty out of Boise State. I mean, he's just a guy that very similar to Ollie Gordon. He finds a way to get productive yards. I remember in the game against San Jose State, we had him blocked up the entire first half, but all of a sudden the second half, he found a way to just sort of plug through and get just a lot of yards in the second half, absolutely close us out in the second half. Omarion Hampton out of North Carolina. There's a lot of people that are liking him a lot.
He's good. Watching Drake May tape, I was impressed with him.
No, I agree. I agree. Donovan Edwards, the running back from Blake
Love
Corum
him.
in Michigan, I
Love
think
him.
he's got a good shot to enter that sort of conversation. Raheem
NCAA cover
Sanders,
athlete, by the way, Donovan Edwards.
Yep. We got Raheem Sanders out of Arkansas, another solid running back. And then, Ted, when's the last time we were talking about Cal prospects? I feel like they've sort of been under the radar for a long time, but they
Keenan
got
Allen?
themselves. But even that has been a long time, right?
Javid Best.
That's even longer than Keenan Allen, right?
No, Javid Best was before Keenan Allen, I'm pretty sure.
But still, even Javid Best has been a long time.
That was like a decade ago. So
yeah, exactly. It's been a long time since we talk about Cal prospects, but they have themselves a gifted running back in Jaden Ott. So I'll be curious to see how he sort of stacks up with the rest of the class. But just overall, Ted, if you need a running back, I think this year's class in 2025, they have so much more talent compared to last year's, where it's like, I could justify a running back. You know, I made that bold prediction during the live stream and before that too, about just like, I don't see a running back taken until the third round. But was it for Carolina trading up to take Jonathan Brooks? I think it might have played out that way. We'll see what Cowboys would have ended up doing if Jonathan Brooks is on the table. That's obviously a question of a big what if scenario there, but I think this year we got some potential names that could go in the first round, but very much we could see a lot more attention being given to the running back class this coming year because it's a lot more talent. I like the talent a lot more this coming year.
So I'm going to do like the opposite you prediction for this past draft, where I'm not sure if a running back's going to go in the first round.
Okay,
but I predict at least 5 go in day 2.
5.
I think there's going to be a massive run of running backs in day 2. I think I really like Donovan Edwards. In fact, if you remember, I think we did this show this time last year. I said, I like Donovan Edwards more than I like Blake Corum. I expected them both to declare at the same time. I think it was very smart of Donovan Edwards to go, no, Corum, you go do your thing. I'm going to be the main guy now. Exactly. I think if you made me place a bet on if a running back goes in the first round, who is it going to be? It's Donovan Edwards.
Wow. Okay.
So clearly I really like him, but
seriously, it's like some of these other guys are very talented. So
but that's what I mean. Is like this is such a like talented group of just like they're just through and through pretty good. This isn't the perfect comparison, but I would compare it to last year's receiver class where you have like 1 to 3 guys who are really really good, and then the rest after that are still pretty good. It's like, you had Leggett, you had Jalen Polk, you had, Keon Coleman, you had guys like those middling guys who were like, yeah, they're middle tier. I mean, hell, we made a whole episode segment out of that. Of like these middle tier guys still pretty damn good. And that's how the running back class is shaking out to be this year. That's a great pick by you.
Yeah, you're talking about wide receivers. We're going to have another strong class this coming year as well. But I mean, we'll talk about that in a later episode. But Tad, I want to get to the other side here. What do you think is the weakest position group here in 2025?
I'm going to be interested to see what effect this has on free agency, because I think that you're going to see the price tag on this position group go way up because NFL teams realize this is now 2 years in a row. This position class is very, very weak. This safety class sucks, dude. Like I've done a preliminary scouting, and the little bit of scouting I've done, there's no one in there where I'm truly wowed by. I'd be shocked if more than 3 safeties went in days 1 and 2.
Yeah, I've been hearing a lot about the safety class just not being all that
good. It's not good. And this past year's wasn't good as well. So if you have a safety need, and this is what I was talking about with free agency, I think if you're a free agent safety next year, you're about to make bank, because a lot of teams realize like there's not much that there's no cheaper talent. That's the whole thing of like, where's the cheaper talent? There is none. So I think that the safety market could skyrocket next year, because and notice I'm not even naming names because there are no names that people are going to recognize out there. It's just not good.
I'm going to go with the class that also wasn't as strong. I think a lot of people, they just didn't have them peg as like day 2 prospects as far as like early day 2, but I'm going to go with like the middle linebacker or box linebacker position, because there's not a lot of strong names here, because you got a guy here, which I'm very curious to see how it ends up playing out, but Harold Perkins out of LSU. Apparently, they used him as an outside presence and an edge rusher, but now they want to shift him to be a more traditional linebacker. So if that transition works out, he could be one of the best ones in this class. But outside that, if it doesn't work out, they're going to put him in that strong edge class. So it's like, I'm sure curious to see how that plays out.
He's also one of those weird like safety hybrid types where there have been some rumors where they're going to start playing him at safety. But that's what worries me about this class, is that it's a lot of those guys are like, hey, super athletic. And it's just like, it seems like it's the class of a bunch of Zay Simmons.
And then you also got, he's got probably a good chance to probably be the first linebacker off the board. Barrett Carter out of Clemson. You know, he played there with Jeremiah Traore Jr. So I think
that bastard he overshadowed my boy.
So he's got a good chance to separate himself this upcoming draft class. And then a small school prospect to keep an eye on. Because I remember I talked about this guy as far as like, I'm surprised he didn't declare last year. I think he would have been probably a top pick in this past draft. But Jason Henderson at Old Dominion, he's a very small school guy that I think's got a lot of promise as well. But overall, just this linebacker class, not all that strong, very similar to that safety class. So I'm curious to see if anybody can separate themselves as we go through this upcoming college football season. Now, Tad, we sort of talked about this earlier, but who do you think? That's probably the better question here. Who do you think will see a meteoric rise in the upcoming college football season? You know, a la Jaden Daniels, a la Joe Burrow, just some of these other guys were just like, they had this amazing last season in college. They were able to capitalize on that and then be taken very high in the upcoming draft that they are in. So do you think that, once again, not do you think, who do you think will be that player?
I'm so glad you brought up two quarterbacks there, because I am very confident.
Safe to say that's the one position that usually sees a meteoric rise. Like,
and that's why I'm so confident in my pick here. And this could be a freezing cold take in about a year, but I really do think that this guy is going. I think he's going to be a lock for first round. No, but he's going to be with that guy who like plays himself into the conversation.
Sure.
Of like, oh, could he be a first rounder? Could he not? Honestly, in my opinion, in terms of draft stock, not in terms of play style or anything else, in terms of draft stock, he will be next year's Bo Nix. Of like, he could go in the first round, wouldn't shock me. He could go in the second round, also wouldn't shock me. Now, if he slipped past the second round, but whatever, it doesn't matter until next spring. This is a guy. Let me, you ready, Mer? Close your eyes. Okay, audience, close your eyes. What am I going to do? We're 1,000 miles apart. It's not like I'm going to smack you in the face now. If we were in, no, that's fair. I've earned that at this point. All right, fine. Let me transport you to 2 years ago.
Okay.
There's a young, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed Tad. He's very happy. He's a big. Shut up! I'm going somewhere with this. Don't shake your head.
Young,
he's happy.
Is a stretch. Even 2 years ago.
I hate you. I may not have been moving like I was doing, especially having to climb all these stairs. I'll get to that in a moment, but still, he liked to believe he was young at that time. Anyways, point being is, I was at the Big 12 championship in Dallas, TCU versus Kansas State. I climbed those damn stairs all the way to the nosebleeds we were at. There are a lot of damn stairs in that damn stadium. And I'm watching this guy because I'm not watching Kansas State football. I'm not a loser.
Wow.
Is that too much of a shot?
That was a bit extreme, my friend. That was a bit extreme. All those Wildcat fans have jumped off the podcast.
I'm just saying we're the better purple team. That's all I'm saying. But bottom line, well, they get the last laugh though, is because this number.
James Madison wants to talk in that conversation.
Yeah, James Madison versus TCU. Get the fuck out of here. But bottom line,
TCU against James Madison.
I'm sorry. When was the last time James Madison made a national title?
It doesn't matter. They went.
Absolutely, that doesn't matter.
Last season.
No, get out of here. No, James, you cannot make the comparison. No, get out of here. The conversation over. Anyways, back to the original point is, and Kansas State fans are going to love this, is because I was fully expecting TCU to walk away with that, and we just trot right into the college football playoffs. But this damn dude at Kansas State at quarterback, number 18, had the game of his life. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, oh my God. And then my the draft had kind of kicked in. I was watching his footwork. I was watching his accuracy. I'm like, damn. I remember and this actually happened. I turned to my friend, I go, that guy's going to be an NFL player. And that guy was Will Howard, quarterback number 18 at Kansas State. Now he is a very weird career at Kansas State where for some reason they kept benching him, even though he was clearly their best option, and people kept getting hurt. So they're like, fine, Will, get back in there. And every time he was in there, he did well. And so finally he did the smart thing for his senior season. Was like, fuck it, I'm out of here. So he bailed. And there was heavy rumors that he was going to Miami, which as a quasi-Miami fan, I was excited for. Well, then I was very upset because he decided to go to Ohio State. perfect school for him to go to. He is under Ryan Day. He is surrounded by the top talent with I almost had Cade Stover. I know he's in the NFL now. But another guy that we were talking about as a potential first rounder, Mykel, say the last name for me.
Ibuka, yeah.
Ibuka, thank you. Yeah, no way I'm trying that one. But, he was very much, here's a hot take. He would have gone before Neighbors in this year's draft had he declared.
Okay.
But so you have a first round talent receiver. I think that Will Howard is going to absolutely explode this year. He could, I know I said Riley Leonard before, but would not shock me if Riley Leonard, Will Howard switched out, and he could be the surprise first round quarterback. Look out for Will Howard this year, especially if he beats Michigan.
Okay. I can see it happening, especially with Kyle McCord transferring to Syracuse, if I remember correctly. So
yes,
that obviously
because he wanted appreciation from his hometown fan base. It was almost a direct quote.
Really? Okay, interesting.
That's almost. I had to look it up because I saw that. I was like, why the hell did you go to Syracuse? He's from Pennsylvania, so he said he wanted to be appreciated nearer to home.
Okay, got it. Mine, I think, is a little bit more of an obvious pick. I think it's probably a lot of people would anticipate this happening, but we already brought him up earlier. But Jalen Milroe, I think I didn't want to call him a lock because I wanted to discuss him here at this spot here, and then I sort of, I think he's probably a lock for the first round as well. But yeah, the Crimson Tide starter for, Nick Saban in his final year as a coach of the Alabama Crimson Tide. But I think the big thing with him sort of sticking around there with the new coach in Kalen DeBoer, I think we could very much see a situation where DeBoer could sort of use him the same way that he was able to groom and grow Mykel Penix Jr. to make him a eventual 8 overall pick selection here. So I think Jalen Milroe sort of has those skills. He's a little bit more athletic than Mykel Penix Jr. I think when Mykel Penix Jr. was at Indiana, we saw that list.
A little bit.
Okay, a lot more. But I think the big thing with Mykel Penix was just that we saw it at Indiana, but then he got hurt, obviously, all the time. So that's why I was like, you know what? Let me just stay in the pocket and just sort of dissect defenses that way. And obviously, that's where he grew his game a little bit further. So I think getting that sort of athleticism that you'll get with Milroe now, that'll give DeBoer a little bit more options in the passing game and just a little bit more fluidity in his offensive scheme using Milroe. But I think Milroe can sort of see that meteoric rise with sort of that ability that he has and learning from DeBoer, who did it with Penix already at Washington for 2 years. So it's like, I think he could be one of those guys that all of a sudden they just have a fantastic senior season or last season in college, and they'll enter the conversation to possibly he could be in that conversation of being the number 1 overall pick, depending on who team is there, because he has that type of talent level and the coaching situation there as well. So like I said, I think a lot of people are sort of picking this because of the connection there with DeBoer and Penix, and obviously now Milroe here. So it's like I can see that happening very much. But yeah, I think he's my sort of lock to see the biggest rise from his previous season.
This is kind of a separate question, but if you ask me not even quarterback, what college player is facing the most pressure when it comes to their draft stock this upcoming season, it's Milroe. Milroe is either going to be a 6th to 7th to undrafted round player, 6th, 7th round player. Undrafted round. That they should do that. Oh, drafted round.
Yeah, drafted round. Oh my lord.
Oh my god, that'd be amazing. Like a game show. Oh, they should do that. A game show where the GMs have to answer a trivia question, and whichever one buzzes in the answer first, they get the first pick.
That'd be interesting.
Look out, Roger Goodell. I'm coming for you. But no, bottom line is
no, he's not.
We'll see. But I could see if Milroe went in the 5th next year, it wouldn't surprise me. If Milroe went top 15 next year, it wouldn't surprise me. It all depends on this year's season. So you brought up Penix Jr. with DeBoer. Thank you. Sorry. But and shows that I've done my research. It was funny because I thought that he was also responsible for Jake Browning. He was not. But there was actually a name that I completely forgot about for reasons that I'll get into. Because I remember I totally forgot about him and then became irrelevant. And so I forgot. That's why I forgot about him. But he also made this guy a mid-round draft pick when I thought he should have gone undrafted. DeBoer was Jake Hayner's college coach.
At Fresno State?
So Jake Hayner, well, that's why. So he followed DeBoer from Fresno State to Washington. If you remember, Jake Hayner was at Washington. And here's what I was talking about with all this forgetful stuff, because I remember I think you were a fan of Jake Haener.
I was a fan of Jake Haener.
You were, yeah. Okay, I just want to make sure because I remember that you were a fan of him. I was not. Yeah, and I was like, this guy should be a 6th or 7th round pick. You're like, no, he's promising, and then you look like a genius because he went in the 4th round. I was like, damn it. And then, and this is what I was talking about with reasons I forgot him. He was suspended for his entire rookie season because he was caught with PEDs, which to his credit, for in case Jake Haener's lawyers are looking to come after us, he said, I don't know how those PEDs came in my system, but I'll accept the punishment. So he did not admit guilt. So I'm not saying he's guilty of it. I'm just saying that's why he was suspended. Legally covering ourselves. Bottom line being, if you can get Jake Haener drafted in the 4th round, imagine what you can do with a better, like astronomically better talent in Jalen Milroe. So as long as Jalen Milroe, and who showed great progression, because don't forget, after that Texas game, Alabama was basically doing a 3-man rotation at quarterback. And then they reached the Rose Bowl with Jalen Milroe. So that's like he showed great progression. I always tell my students that of like, if you suck at first, that's not a bad sign as long as you grow as the year goes. And Jalen Milroe showed us growth. So if he can continue that path, 100%, he is a top 15 candidate, easy.
Yeah, I think he has the arm talent. I think just the biggest thing is just, understanding the defense and sort of dissecting it that way. Because I think that's the big thing that he sort of needs to grow on.
For me, it's when to run, when to pass. That's my biggest thing.
And that's the big thing too. Yeah. Just like understanding the defense is so that you know what to do as far as in that situation. So I think that's very much, if he can make those small improvements or large improvements, however you want to lay it out there, that's like he's got a good shot to, like I said, lock into the top 15, top 10, potentially number 1 overall. But yeah, he's my candidate to sort of see that meteoric rise in his final season to sort of, ascend and become a top prospect in 2025. So,
all right, fair enough. But, and I think this is actually the first time in show history I'm going to do this. I'm going to reveal the exact date of recording. Saturday, May 11th, 2024. Amir, lock in your pick. First overall pick will be
James Pearce out of Tennessee.
I'm going Shedeur Sanders, quarterback out of Colorado. God help us all.
Yeah, that'll be very interesting. I'm so intrigued to watch his tape because, I'm hearing such polarizing takes with him. So just like,
get off Twitter.
Be very, very interesting with him for sure. But yeah, I'm going with James Pearce. I think he's got the talent. And I think just we'll see a team that doesn't need a quarterback, and I think they'll address the defense here. So that's my sort of inkling right now.
I think Shedeur is going to be that fat, flashy player. He's going to elevate Colorado. The story's going to be too good. Voters can't stay away.
No, that makes
voters being Heisman winner, and with the Heisman campaign comes the first overall pick. Like it's just it's going to be like an avalanche from there.
No, that's fair. That's fair. So we'll exactly see how it all plays out because, we still have a lot to go until the 2025 NFL draft. I mean, like Tad said, this is May 11th, so we still have 11 full months until the draft happens next year in Green Bay. So, I mean, that should be very interesting. And then, Tad, I don't know if you saw, but Green Bay is going to be the first NFL stadium or first NFL venue that's going to allow smoking.
I did see that.
So,
yes,
that's going to be a very interesting scene.
Apparently, we're transporting ourselves back to the 1990s.
Exactly. So, I mean, that's going to be very interesting to see how that all plays out with the draft. And it's like you can smoke, you can vape, you can do a lot of different things there. So, that'll be very intriguing to see exactly how the crowd will be in Green Bay for that draft and the attendees. So, but regardless, it should be a fun upcoming season. Talking about the college football season, Tad, I mean, it gets me more excited that we're actually going to have a college football game. I mean, any chance to sort of bring that up, I'm going to bring it up because I'm so excited for that game. And guys, I mean, if you have thoughts on the 2025 NFL draft, you have thoughts on the upcoming college football game too, like hit us up because me and Tad are going to be playing that game as soon as it drops in July. So yeah, hit us up on all our social media handles to talk about college football, talk about the upcoming draft, talk about fantasy football, because we're making that transition into the fantasy season, with this sort of final episode talking about the NFL draft. So, I mean, hit us up on all the social media handles. You see the ticker coming right down below. You got me on Twitter, on the side 23. You got Tad side 94. Got the show handle, Anthony Side Guys, and of course on Instagram, Anthony Side Guys as well. Hit us up. We're in the off season, so we're open to talking about almost anything and everything, obviously within reason. So let us know what you want us to talk about, and we'll definitely get into it when it comes to fantasy, when it comes to college football, when it comes to, the draft, whatever it is. We're here to help you guys, give you the best advice when it comes to, your draft projections and your draft process and your analysis there. And honestly, the fantasy season, make sure you guys are in good shape to obviously set yourselves up to have the best fantasy roster to compete for titles and championships. That's the biggest thing that we want to do on the podcast here. So make sure you subscribe to the podcast, where you listen to your podcast. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. And please, guys, support our parent network at LAFB Network. They're giving you a lot of great content when it comes to the Rams and the Chargers at the professional level, and the Bruins and the Trojans when it comes to college level. Lots of great content coming from them at LAFB Network. And guys, I mean, everybody who's already interacting with us on social media, who's listening to the podcast, who's watching the videos, who caught part of the live stream. We can't thank everybody enough for coming on that live stream or participating and dropping in some comments and just having fun with us for the 9 hours that we're on during both days there. It was just a ton of fun. So guys, to any way that you're supporting the podcast, we really can't thank you enough.
I'll let you decide our next bit. Do I go like salesman infomercial voice here, or do I go like medical commercial voice here?
I want to hear the infomercial voice. I definitely want to hear that.
Sorry, give me 1 second. Did your coach hire a new team this offseason? I screwed up. Did your team hire a new coach this offseason? Do you want to know the potential side effects of that? Do you want safety insurance from it? Well, listen to the Decide Guys podcast for any potential effects from a new coaching hire this offseason. The Decide Guys Football Forum will be breaking down all the latest head coaching hirings this offseason. You got questions? You let us know. Other than screwing up the beginning, I think I nailed that.
It's not bad. That was not bad. Young Tad would have got through it flawlessly.
He would have. Anyway, point being is, look, our head coaching deep dive series is starting very soon with all the new head coaching hires. This year's going to be tough. There are a lot of like low-key hires there. But bottom line being, if your favorite team, or even if a team are just interested in being like, hey, I have a question about this head coaching hire, send them into us in social medias, as you can find below. And that will help us kind of give an angle there to explore further. So head coaching dives is coming up. We got, team previews, especially fantasy focus coming up. We have a lot of exciting stuff coming up in this offseason, which also means we only have a limited space for more fun episodes. So if you have an idea for a more fun episode, you got to send those in soon as well. So as always, everyone, thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. And please stay safe, everyone.